Thank you for joining me and my guests on About Fundraising the Podcast. I'm Diana Marquis, host of About Fundraising the Podcast and founder and chief strategist for DM Group Consulting. DM Group Consulting works with nonprofit organizations on fundraising strategies, grant submissions, database analysis, and board training. Give me a call or send me an email to schedule your free half-hour consultation. My team and I are here to help you and your organization thrive. About Fundraising the Podcast has some great guests in 2025. We covered topics from marketing to real estate in the nonprofit sector, to urban versus rural fundraising, to giving circles, and the impact of women in philanthropy. I'm Diana Marquis, host of About Fundraising the Podcast. For me, the month of December is about gratitude. I am grateful to have this platform to talk about fundraising and to introduce you to interesting guests with lots to say about a variety of topics, all related to fundraising and the nonprofit sector. Today, I will share some 2025 highlights from my year as a podcast host, consultant to nonprofits, and volunteer. And we will take a look ahead to 2026. One piece of advice I give my clients is to accept gifts of stock, and I was honored to have Steve Latham, founder of Donate Stock, as my guest in February, Season 2, Episode 2, where we talked about donations from assets. On average, asset-based donations, like stocks, are 30% larger than cash gifts. When a nonprofit organization uses a company like Donate Stock to accept and process gifts of stock, it eliminates the expense of a brokerage account and increases donations. Don't assume your donors don't own stock or other assets. Let them know you accept stock gifts and make it easy for them to support you from their assets, not just cash out of their pockets. I enjoyed public speaking, and Wendolyn Abel, VP at Texas Methodist Foundation, gave me that opportunity. Wendy is a friend and was a podcast guest. She invited me to present last February at The Gathering, an event hosted by Texas Methodist Foundation in Austin for its grant recipients. It was an inspiring day. One of the things I explore on About Fundraising the Podcast with guests, Alicia and Diana Hoyt, was the fundraiser as a whole person, that there is life beyond fundraising. What do fundraisers do when they're not raising money? Having other interests makes us a more interesting person. How do we grow and explore? What do we give ourselves permission to do? One answer was to write a novel, and the other was to be a stand-up comic. It was a great conversation. What is your secret passion? What is holding you back? Check out Season 2, Episode 4 to learn more. How many of you are prepared to handle real estate deals for your organization? I'd say not many. Honestly, the average person may buy and sell 1 or 2 homes, but not commercial buildings that house offices, classrooms, sleeping quarters, or other common spaces needed to run a nonprofit. My podcast guest in May was Eliza Solender, the owner of a commercial real estate and consulting company that specializes in working with nonprofits to buy, sell, lease, manage, and finance commercial real estate in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She shared a wealth of information, and I encourage you to listen to Episode 5 in Season 2 if you are considering any real estate decisions for your nonprofit. Same goes for my episode on marketing and PR for nonprofits in Episode 6 of Season 2 with Juliet Coulter and Rhonda Agamalian. Even if you are a one-person shop, you can still do some form of communications for your organization. The key is to be consistent. Francois Booker-Drew is an amazing woman, a community organizer, a woman of faith, and an author. Her 5th book, Front Porch Wisdom, was released this year, and she was my guest in July, where we talked about her work in the nonprofit sector, lessons learned, and lessons shared from the matriarchs. You can listen to our conversation in Season 2, Episode 7. We ended the summer with Greg Warner, founder of MarketSmart, a marketing software and service firm, author of Engagement Fundraising, and inventor of the Fundraising Report Card. The focus of our conversation was the role of technology in fundraising. You can listen to episode 8 of season 2 to learn more. During the fall of this year, I had 3 amazing women as guests for September, October, and November. Episode 9 was with Karen Hughes White, CEO of the Texas Women's Foundation. We talked about one of the basics of fundraising, and that is relationships. The importance of meaningful strategic partnerships for our organizations and the support we give each other as professional fundraisers. I was interested in having Michelle Monse as a guest in episode 10 because of her focus on rural philanthropy. I'm from a small town in West Texas, so I know resources are scarce when there is more land than people. Michelle is focusing her talent and expertise geographically to help these funders and nonprofits succeed. And then in November, episode 14, we wrapped up our last guest for 2025 with Taisha Wilson, also known as Ty, an amazing, dynamic young woman who I met when we worked at the Salvation Army. Ty is Senior Director of Community at Philanthropy Together, a relatively new global nonprofit whose mission is to plant giving circles around the world. This is a great episode to listen to and learn about how giving circles can benefit your organization. In addition to these amazing guests, I ventured into solo podcast episodes. This was a real stretch for me because I'd much rather have a conversation with another person. But I did it, thanks to my podcast coach, Anna Xavier, and podcast producer, Lucas Reeder. We aired a 3-part series in October and November on end-of-year fundraising. This received great response. Some of my network had their staff listen to my podcast episodes as part of their training. Learning about the impact my work has inspires me to do more. I'd love to hear from you about your favorite episode. Contact me at my website, dmgroupconsulting.com. When I wasn't working on my podcast, I had a couple of volunteer gigs this year. One was program chair for our Dallas AFP chapter. I really tapped into my AFP network and secured all the speakers for our monthly luncheon programs. When I invited Karen Hughes White to be a podcast guest, I didn't know the help she would be when our AFP meetings needed a home. Through that new relationship, I secured a consistent meeting space for some of our 2025 meetings and for all of our 2026 luncheon meetings. You just never know who'll show up to help you out. A new stretch for me was to be the presenting sponsor for the Dallas AFP Chapter's National Philanthropy Day Awards event. This year was our 40th anniversary for NPD Awards. I am grateful that my consulting business is doing well enough to support my AFP chapter as a sponsor, especially for this significant anniversary. There are pictures in my December newsletter and on my website. I'm grateful to be able to invest in our sector. I recently learned that I've been an inspiration to some of my fellow fundraisers and AFP members. I was really surprised when this one person in particular shared how much she appreciated the monthly program meetings and my encouragement for her to go after her CFRE. Hearing from her really made my week. I'm grateful for my clients and for the team that supports my work. 2025 was not an easy year, but we were successful in providing consistent and timely grant submissions for clients, training and education for board members, guidance for boards on the nominations process, professional coaching for executive directors, and database analysis and management. My team and I continue to support and guide nonprofit clients through their challenges in the new year. 2026 is a few short weeks away, and I want to share some of what I have in mind for About Fundraising the podcast for next year. We will continue to release one, maybe more, podcast episodes each month following the release of my monthly newsletter. The 3-part solo episode series received such great response, we will focus on more solo episodes, but still have guests with knowledge and insights to share. Some of the solo episodes we're planning are how to ensure new board members don't bail after the first meeting, why summer is the best time for annual fund planning, database management is not just for geeks, bylaws, what bylaws? What everyone should know about their organization's bylaws, and grant writing myths and mistakes. These are just some of what we're planning. Each year, I challenge myself to do something terrifying. For 2026, I'm exploring an opportunity to do a live podcast at a conference. Can't say more about that now, but stay tuned. I'm grateful for you, my podcast listener and subscriber. Thank you. You can revisit any of my podcasts on my website, dmgroupconsulting.com, and on any podcast platform. You can also contact me on my website for a free half-hour consultation. This is Diana Marquis, creator and host of About Fundraising the Podcast. See you next year.